What's up everybody and welcome back. If you're wondering today why everything looks a little bit different, it's because I'm in my friend Dylan's shop. You guys have seen me mainly stick weld on this channel in my journey learning how to weld. And I was talking to my buddy Dylan and he literally said, hey, why don't you come over? I have this little project I got going on and we can do a little bit of MIG welding. So here we are. Okay, it's time to introduce my boy Dylan right here. He knows about my welding project and everything I've kind of done with it, and that's why he invited me here today to his shop to check out what he does with MIG welding specifically. He's got two machines over here on the side, and I wanted y'all to meet my guy Dylan. I'm gonna get to weld today just a little bit with the MIG machine, which obviously you guys know I've never done, so it'd be kind of a cool thing. What's going on, Dylan? How you doing?
What's up, man? How we doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me here today. And so why don't you fill us in a little bit about what we're doing?
Well, we're doing a little bit of box welds today. 16 gauge tubular steel, running the MIG. I've only been doing this for about 5 years now, and it's just amateur. I still haven't, done anything really professional, but we figured we'd mess around with some cuts today and weld me up a box for a project I'm working on.
Let's do it. Acting like I'm a professional or something over here. Just prepping some of the metal. So of course in the mock-up, obviously, right, there's gonna be a handful of cuts before you could get to the welding, right? I still haven't bought any of those little magnetic triangles. I know I need to, but I don't know if I want to buy those ones or buy, some other special kinds. I don't know. We'll have to figure that out. So my guy Dylan over here is not going off of SketchUp or some CAD drawing or anything like that. It's like all this in this ding ding. So we're talking about a couple of mock-up ideas and how you can kind of adjust certain things on the fly.
Those are flat.
That evolution saw though, I'm in the market. Like I need to get one. So here's the mock-up.
What we're running is a box weld right now. That's what we're going to do for the project. It's just a traditional box weld setup. You got to make sure your angles are good. Unfortunately, we cut a little bit skew, so we're going to be running some tack to cover up the seams. And we're doing a running tack today because it's 16 gauge steel, and if you get too hot, you'll blow through. And that's about it.
And then, if you guys didn't know, this is the bad boy's machine right here. The Hobart, what model is this?
This is a Hobart 210, running off a 220 feed, and it's switchable to 110, but I like to use the 220. We're running mixed gas, CO2 and argon mix with solid core 0.030 wire. It's a good mix, good wire for running seams, especially on tubular steel, square, round, the whole nine. You can run it on flat plate too, but it's a real easy feed to do.
The jelly part about me right now is that he's running this on a 220. And you guys know I've struggled with the 110 in my house, but the 220, I'm jelly. And you know damn well I brought my own helmet and the respirator, right? I mean, you know. So first we'll obviously watch him do the MIG welding, and then I'll let him explain a couple of things about the MIG weld, and then I'll give it a whirl. And not on his workpiece, because I don't want to blow that up. Like, yeah, I'm supposed to screw up all his work? Nah. So just to be clear, I totally forgot he mentioned this to me, is like, he basically is like spot welding it's almost like he's tack welding each spot on the seam as opposed to like running like a consistent bead like most MIG welders do. We're gonna try that too, but that's what that was. Okay, yeah, so you can go
ahead. This one's a little bit of a dirty seam. I need to do a little practice. I haven't welded in probably like a month, so I wanted to run a practice weld. Basically, what a running tack is it's kind of like you're putting one tack weld next to each other, and you're doing a slight overlap. It's a combination of doing a puddle weld and a tack weld at the same time, but you're pressing and depressing the trigger. A lot of times, when you're starting off doing a seam weld with a MIG welder, especially on gauged tubular steel, you have a chance of blowout, which means that you'll melt right through it and you'll end up with this big hole. Then you have to fill it in and you have to grind it down, and it's a big mess. So this way, doing the tack welds, it kind of allows the metal to cool just enough that it's not going to burn through, but it keeps it warm enough that the welds will stick to each other.
By the way, this is 16 gauge, if I didn't say that earlier, so that's why he's concerned with like blowing through. And the way that these tack welds kind of go are like, it's almost like, how do I explain it? It's almost like tack welding dimes. So it's just like, you overlap each tack like slightly so that it essentially will look like a dime. All tacked up. All tacked up. Okay, so we're all tacked up.
We are all tacked up, and right now what we're going to do is we're going to address the miscuts that we did, the misangles that we did. Got a significant gap in some spots. We got gaps all over. Some of them are significant, but
it's fixable.
It's fixable.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. Okay, so what we're working with here is we're off by about 3 to 5 degrees, and it causes a significant gap. So you can see that we bridge tacked it together, and we're kind of going to do the same thing with the seam as we're going to do a bridge seam, a little bit of back and forth to start joining it together. I don't need a full, it's not a structural load on this, so I don't need it to be completely solid, but I do need to stick together and not break apart.
He's stuck it! He's stuck it!
Okay, here, let me use this right here. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so what he was saying was, where it was narrower, right, you could just basically do the spot, a spot, a spot, a spot. And then as it got wider, what he did was he would spot one side, spot the other side, and then they would sort of bridge in the middle because the gaps was so wide over here. So as he went, obviously started from the wider side, but if you were to go from this side, you would go single, 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 and as it got wider, you would go spot, 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 spot. So it would essentially bridge the gap in between, if that wasn't clear. Okay, moment of truth. I tried to talk him out of allowing me to work on the actual work piece because if I blow a huge hole in it, I'm gonna feel bad. But he said, you know what? He can fix anything. So here we are. Gonna try and, gonna try.
Oh, man. Oh, I got it. Oh, yeah, you're good. I accidentally hit the button again, as usual. What? What?
Okay, and there you have it. My first ever spot weld to try and fill this gap, as my buddy Dylan had first showed me. So really quickly, there's two ways that you can actually do this. Obviously, it's kind of like a small E or circular method to seam MIG weld, and then there's this method that we're doing right now, which is kind of like spot tacking each section like this. Because this was a narrower gap on this side and a wider gap on this side, what I was doing was obviously just singularly spotting each spot. But as I got to the middle right here, I was trying to focus on each side to help bridge the wider part of the gap, and it got really, really ugly right here. Most of my welds are pretty ugly. But then as we got towards the wider part, what happened was I was seeing that if I were just focusing the feed wire directly on the metal that I had already inserted, it was able to melt and kind of bridge both. It was actually reaching across. So over here was obviously a lot nicer because literally I was only singularly spot tacking dead in the middle, and it was helping fill in it. But yeah, if you just act like you don't see this part, everything else looks kind of okay. Yeah!
Oh my God. The feed speed, I think, is too fast. But here, I'll keep going. Oh wow, this blows holes through this like. Yeah, this feed, look at this feed speed, so fast. I was trying to run a C. I was trying to run circles so that I could slowly, you know, like keep it all together. But the feed speed was going so fast that it would keep blowing through it.
Okay, look at that. As ugly as they were or were not, in your opinion and ours, like once you're done, you grind it down and make it look. It looks perfectly nice. It looks, you know, it's nice, smooth.
It looks like one piece of metal.
Obviously, there's more to go here, but you know, just for demonstration purposes, that's what we're talking about. Let me show you. I don't know if I should show you, but let me show you how bad mine was. That's me right there. There's the blown hole through the middle because it was like I was struggling in the middle, but the end right here, Dylan says, hold on, let it focus. Dylan says it wasn't so bad. This is where the singular, you know, I was running a singular bead where I wasn't trying to like kind of zigzag and double over or whatever. But if we were to grind that down, there would obviously be a big hole in the middle, but everything else would look nice and flat and smooth. Okay, so I'm gonna have to get me one of these bad boys because mine, as you all know, it stops like right here. It's like just a shirt. All right, let's wrap this up really quickly because we already shot a lot and it's already really dark outside. So let's just wrap this up. So let me give you a couple quick thoughts about my experience with this little run through. Obviously they tell you that stick welding is something where you should start learning, and that's kind of where I started. It was awesome to kind of run through this MIG and see kind of how the MIG acts and reacts, you know, with the gun and the feed wire and the metal. And I was obviously blowing holes through the metal and the feed speed and all that stuff, which we won't get super in detail with because this is just kind of like an experience about, you know, what it was like to MIG for the first time and see how actually somebody who's done it on a regular basis, maybe not all the time, but has done it. So as you saw, it was nice and smooth. The finished product for him was nice and smooth. Mine was, and we could grind that down. Do you want to grind that down? We can grind that down. Let's grind mine down and show him the big hole that we have right in the middle. Okay, as you can see right there, we got the little, you know, the inconsistencies basically. So, you know, my lack of experience wouldn't allow it to, you know, fill all the way in that sense. Again, not a super detailed, it wasn't technically, this video wasn't about the technical aspects of like MIG and all that kind of stuff. The only thing is I wanted to compare with the little bit of experience I have with stick and a little bit of experience I have now with MIG. I can tell you the differences, and the differences are really this. If I were to pick one, I like stick welding because I feel like I have more control. When you have the feed speed, yes, you have a dial on the machine and stuff like that, but the wire tends to, if you didn't have it in the right spot or whatever, the wire tends to run out of control for me so far in that sense. And I know as you go on and learn more, you can get more control and stuff like that. But I still prefer the stick welding. Even, you know, with things like 6011, I can stack the dimes a little bit better than I can in this. And I do like the aspect of being able to like spot weld, but you could kind of do that with stick welding. So I'm not sure. We'll have to play with it some more or whatever, but for purposes of this video, that was it. That's all you got. One more thing, what I wanted to mention was the reason I also accepted and came out here and did this was not only because I get to touch a MIG machine and get experience, but also because you get to see the process of how it was to start and mock up a project. And that's kind of where I'm at now. Instead of just like running beads on metal, I want to start, you know, damn, it's like, I want to start, it gets heavy and stuff. Yeah, I can see myself weak. So at this point, basically, I'm going to start, you know, trying to mock up like small projects as opposed to just running bead on flat metal. So again, thank you guys for being here with us today. It's been a really long video. Hopefully I'm going to chop it down to as short as I can. And you guys make sure you like, subscribe, comment because it helps out the channel. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks, Dylan.
I can't remember if I'm running flat.
Saw though, like, I'm in the market. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Plug in. So, shit. If I blow it up, he's gonna fix. What just happened right now? I know what happened. Oh, mother. I keep having to plug and unplug.
I can't see what I'm filming.
Booyakasha. Hold on. I hate that it doesn't tell me what. No signal. Oh. That's what it is. This is it's gonna be so great when this A7S III comes in.